amplified pattern recognition.
Why does the universe exist? We're about 5 light signs away from getting answers.
Welcome to Think Tank. This is a podcast where in each episode we pick a topic and discuss it with industry professionals and thought leaders in that industry. I'm Josh Gonzalez.
And I'm Braden Drew, and we're the hosts of Think Tank.
This is episode 1, where we'll be focusing on UX design.
In this episode, we have our first guest, Nate Garvey, who is currently a product designer at Facebook. Nate is originally from Toronto, where he started his own company called Heist. He's now working at Facebook, where he's trying to better the user experience for searching people on the social network.
And in this conversation with Nate, we'll be bringing up ideas, philosophies, processes, among other things, and just try to get different perspectives on the topic. This episode was recorded in San Francisco, California, where Braden and I traveled down to do a couple episodes of the podcast, but all the intros were recorded back home in Toronto in the studio. So yeah, let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Nate, and where you've been in the industry and where you are now.
Sure. So I'm a new product designer at Facebook. I actually just moved down here from Toronto to the Bay Area. And before Facebook, I had a design agency with some other partners called Heist Data and Design. We were like a user experience, user research firm that did some fun stuff in Toronto. And before that, I kind of did some tours of different design and ad agencies in the city before stepping out on my own with Heist and then coming down here.
For those of you out there listening who don't know about product design, what can you tell us about that, Nate? Like exactly what that entails?
Sure. So product design is actually it started out as industrial designers. We're called product designers. It's only kind of been recently, and I'd say even in the maybe late 90s, more likely late 2000s, it kind of became this term used for people who design screen-based experiences. So you'll hear product design, you'll hear user experience design, you'll hear UI design, you'll hear interfaces. There's so many different job titles that get...
It just blends through,
that just all get blended together and thrown around, and some people take more literally than others. Product design in a digital sense seems to almost be a tech and almost a Bay Area specific job title. When we'd look for product designers in Toronto, people are like, you mean UX designer?
Graphic designer?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean industrial designer?
Yeah.
So product designers have to essentially it's a bit of an ambiguous role, but you're often in practice, you're often prototyping different apps or different screen-based things, and then trying to understand people, understand their behavior, understand what they're trying to accomplish, either with your service, your product, around the world, and trying to make something digital come to life that matches what people are trying to do or want to do, or a task they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, that can involve prototyping, that can involve, mocking up screens in Photoshop or Sketch, that can involve running user research, that can involve, facilitating brainstorming sessions with a team, that can involve a pretty wide range of activities. And it kind of it definitely differs place to place, but at a high level, those are kind of the big buckets.
Right. It seems like research is a big area for that, and kind of iterating on the design. And you say you do a lot of research. What does that really mean in product design? Because I know there is a lot of product psychology, and it is kind of a psychological aspect to it. What does that really mean? What do you guys do really?
Yeah. So user research, again, can mean different things in different places. But what you're really trying to do is uncover deeper understanding and kind of whys behind a lot of questions or assumptions you might have or hypotheses you might have in your design process. So in practice, that can look like going around with a prototype on the street and trying to intercept people being like, hey, do you have 5 minutes for a Starbucks gift card to play around with something I'm working on? Or, do you want to see something cool not released yet to the world? Do you want to get a sneak peek? So it can involve kind of going in context or in the field and in someone's actual environment where they might use your product and getting them to play around with the prototype. There's lab-based user research where it's maybe more of a formal usability, kind of a little bit more of an academic situation where you're trying to see, do people understand what this button label means? Are people confused about what's going to happen next when they tap something? Do you even understand what this, app or product or experience is for? Like, does it not even make sense to what they're trying to accomplish? So it can be in lab settings like that. It can be remote. It can be surveys. It can be diary studies. So there's a lot of different kind of tactics and forms it can take, but you're always trying to get insight into the why behind why does somebody does something or what they're trying to do.
So there must be a lot of problems and complications that come with such a wide spectrum that you have to deal with. So would you say like maybe a language barrier is probably one of the most reoccurring problems, or is it really just the hands-on techie part? Like, what really occurs to you when you're trying to formulate a really good product design?
Clarity is often like one of the big factors that you bump up against over and over again. If you're using an app, you're designing an icon for a certain screen, do people understand what's going to happen when they tap on this? Does it need a label? Is this language clear? Does it map to their mental model of how they think about the task? Like, does this camera button make sense to how they take photos and how they share photos with their friends? Should it just be a little circle with like a little red blinking light? Should it be a camera icon? Should it be like a flash snap icon? Understanding what's clear and what makes sense to people is something that you'll often come into over again. That's one of the big things you'll come up against.
Right, so it's coming up with those affordances essentially. Yeah,
Totally.
That's a big thing, and I've been reading about lately is getting these affordances where like before you even tap something, like you kind of expect it to do something. If you look at a door, you look at a handle, you expect it to open or twist. But then there's these bad designs where you go to pull a door and it's actually a push and you get knocked right into it, right?
Yeah, totally. When you're designing something for a screen, you obviously have to create the affordance from scratch. It's not like a door handle that has a consistent shape or a consistent couple of shapes. When you're dealing with pixels, it can take any shape you want it to be, right? It's this fully malleable medium and format that you're working with, unlike maybe some like physical or traditional product.
You have to
design.
create your own physics around the
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Make it look natural.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you do mostly mobile right now. Is that your focus, or just screen based in general?
Screen based in general.
2D screen, because there's like
2D screen,
yeah.
not VR or 3D screen right now for me.
Are you interested in that?
Yeah. I actually, I didn't say this, but I actually studied at Ryerson in Toronto, in the new media program there.
New media, how is that different? Like, how does it teach you? Did you even learn interaction design?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
the new media. So I took the new media program at Ryerson, and that was like this. It's like this weird blend of like fine arts, interaction design, installation design.
I see like Arduinos and stuff.
Yeah, and
there,
physical computing. Like you'll learn like some soldering and robotics too. It's like this weird like, which of these
jack of all trades?
Yeah. And so you'll see like people come out and be really great developers. You'll see people come out and be really great artists. You'll see people come out and be really great designers. Like there's a really wide range of people that'll come out of the program. But at its core, it's like a digital making program, which I thought was really a really valuable, skill and viewpoint to pick up on when I was in school. I was kind of presented with the options of like, okay, do I go like business school route, or do I go like and like learn how to be a manager, or do I like go do like this thing that I thought was related to Photoshop?
It's so funny. I remember I almost took the new media program too, and then the first thing I saw was an installation with like a horse head, and it was like lighting up. I'm like, what is this? So I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I was reminiscing with some other grads not too long ago about the things we duct taped together in terms of like making installation. Like we had this one installation that was it was like a text. You could text in and like write this story that we projected. And we had this like giant like epic book installation where you could text in and like the words would show up on the book projected from above. And we were like reminiscing about how we like duct taped together like Ruby scripts and text files and like Bluetooth links, and we would take whatever technology we could figure out and try to like cram it together to try to communicate an idea, right? Which like honestly, that's like a great design skill set, and having understanding of like what tools are at your disposal and just being able to smash them together some way to communicate an idea or create an experience before you go try and scale it up to something bigger, which was just that mindset and kind of not hacker mentality but problem solving mentality was a really valuable skill to learn there.
It's kind of like in between the two, like hacker designer. Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a lot of that going around where you can tweak things that already exist to aid you for a different thing. Like in terms of Unity, there's a lot of people going in there and accessing the Unity engine and maybe tweaking it for a certain thing that they're trying to do, and that's kind of interesting. It's very hacker-esque. I don't know how legal that is or if they're allowed to do that, but
I think it's legal.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, they can't really stop them. They're doing it.
Yeah, our professors were not too concerned about the legal side.
Yeah.
They were like, if you can do it, go take a stab at it.
Don't worry, you're protected.
Don't get arrested though. We do like we. I remember one year we got in trouble because we did guerrilla installations at Nuit Blanche. So like we weren't officially on the Nuit Blanche card, but we just did like guerrilla installations.
People like, I don't know what this is. Is this part of it? Yeah, it's part of it. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So there was some hand slapping afterwards. I think that happened, but it was great. It was. Do whatever you had to do to like communicate something or create an idea or create an experience, which is really awesome.
Now, getting back to on topic on about design and
about what I actually do.
How do you come up with the idea of who your target audience is, and is it really always such a wide spectrum? Like we're trying to hit as many people as we possibly can, or do you ever have to detail it to a very specific type of person?
I hate saying it depends, but it kind of depends on what company you're at and what kind of scale you're working on. When we're working with Heist and a lot of the clients we had in Toronto, we do kind of some upfront research to try to understand and strategy to understand who we're targeting. Whether that be, a subset of a client's like existing customer base. We want to target people that are like 50 to 65 that like are having a hard time like managing like their own telco account maybe, and we want to try to make them feel more empowered and self-sufficient when they're signing up or changing their data plan. Might be a persona or a target you could go after. When you're dealing with Facebook, you're dealing more with use cases. So it's a little less. We want to target this country. Sometimes it is, but often it's more of a behavioral focus. So we want to target people who are wanting to share friends after a party, right? So it's a little bit less maybe like traditional demographic specific and more behavioral.
But like if you do that, would it go out to every user on Facebook, or would it be like to certain people? Like, will some people get certain features that others won't because this is their behavior and this is the way it's going to work for them, or because it's such a large number of people?
Yeah, most big tech companies will have some kind of like geographic or like region focus. So like when you're launching something, they might say, okay, we're going to roll this out to 2 countries, let's say the US and like France. And they'll kind of target those countries. So there might be certain situations maybe where if that's part of what you're trying to accomplish, or that's part of your strategy to roll out to a specific behavior, maybe. But normally when you're launching something at a larger tech company, there's like scale, and you want to make sure you get it right on a smaller subset of people before you just roll it out to everybody. No large company is going to just be like, okay, let's flip the switch and overnight we're going to turn this on for everyone. There's always always a phased launch plan that most companies have that they'd put a lot of time and effort into crafting how they're going to roll something out to get really positive signal and understand how someone's going to use it before you roll it out to everyone. You need like a small sample size to say, okay, this is statistically significant enough that we know with this small sample size is representative of our larger user base that we're going after, that we believe we've got strong enough signal to believe that this is going to be a great experience or accomplish what they're trying to do.
And a lot of that data, I assume, is just captured through Facebook itself, people who are just using that app, or is it throughout the whole slew of apps that Facebook has rolled out?
I don't know too much about the data collection side, to be honest, or the data science side. So one of the practices that you get to work with as a product designer is data analysts or data scientists. And this is most tech companies or most really strong product companies will have a really strong data science team. That their responsibility is to understand how people are using things in different contexts, different platforms, and try to find the right numbers and metrics to track to understand if you're doing a good job or you're achieving what you're trying to do. So yeah, data science is one of those roles where you'll be more numbers analysis focused. And that's kind of the nice quant to the qual of maybe a user researcher, which is another role you'll be working with as a product designer who'll spend a little more time coordinating and running research activities. So
there's a lot of different roles within that whole area of a lot of people working together.
Yeah. So product teams are at tech companies or at even big, small. We'll kind of break down into a couple of disciplines. There's product managers. There's obviously engineers. You'll have front-end engineers, which will be responsible for implementing a lot of the UI. You'll have back-end engineers who might be responsible for the infrastructure and figuring out how something's going to launch globally or launch only to a specific region. You'll also have user researchers, which will work pretty closely, again, with product designers and the rest of the team to understand who we're targeting, what behaviors we're targeting, what existing research or data do we have that might prove that what we're working on is going to be a really great experience for people. And then you'll often have data scientists who will, I'm probably missing some roles, but then you'll have data scientists, like I said, that'll be responsible for measuring, analyzing, and understanding maybe the numbers side and tracking how people use something.
Wow, there's just so much that goes into it. I don't think a lot of people really realize what actually goes into it. They just see the front end of their Facebook and they're like, yeah, it kind of just happens. And like, he brought us around the campus yesterday. It was insane, the amount of people there. It was really cool to see everyone just meshing all together and just working together.
Yeah, there's a really open and collaborative atmosphere there so far, which has been really, really great to be a part of and great to see. Yeah, it's really important, I think, for really great product teams to be able to collaborate and kind of work cross-functionally and not just be siloed in their specific disciplines.
Right.
So something that you'll see sometimes, maybe more traditionally in more bigger traditional companies that aren't as cutting edge or as tech focused, you'll see engineers will go sit way over here in this room, and designers will go sit on this other side of the room, or another
segregation.
Part of the, you'll see a lot.
They split everyone up into their own little spots.
And I kind of I just throw a link in my engineers like, hey, make this, go over there, go away and make this, and tell me when it's done. Whereas really successful teams obviously need to have a lot higher frequency of communication and be really focused on the same thing together.
So does that mean like a designer needs to know some kind of code at least? I mean, in the engineering side, right? Is that important?
Are you asking me if designers should code? It's like this long,
right? I know it's a big thing.
It's a horse that's been beat to death. Should designers learn how to code? It's important to understand at a high level, the restraints that you're going to have with your medium. You don't want to be oblivious to maybe the performance restraints or the data or implementation restraints that you're going to be running up against. So it's important to have an understanding, but I'm not coding on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, you don't need like
most
a low
designers
level.
aren't. Yeah. Like I think a lot of designers will code to be able to express an idea, maybe.
Right.
But production code is something that's much different. A lot of companies actually shipping front-end code or shipping back-end code is a very intense task. Like there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time thinking about how it should be structured and the semantics around it.
Yeah, and like even nowadays, like a lot of designers don't even need to do that because there are so many awesome applications out there, like InVision, that just you don't need to do code and you can still express that idea and hand that off.
Yeah, whatever tool you need to do to be able to express your idea or concept is the key, right? So if that means you can express your idea better with, JavaScript than with InVision, cool, have at it. If you can express what you need and communicate what you need to do with just flat images and InVision, that's great too. So I'm I guess a believer that you should be a little tool agnostic and say, hey, whatever I need to do to get the job done, that's awesome.
Right. It could just be a pen and paper.
Yep.
Keynote, whatever.
Would you say the design is more what your work is more key to, like finding a problem and like filling it with a solution, or is it more like what kind of content we can create, and is it more of like a creative aspect, like I want to add this to the world, or is like this could totally be done better and here's an application that could fix it or maybe streamline it in some way, or is it all like, is it both? Is it just like a creative aspect? Or?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely both. There's times in your process and what you're working on where you're like, okay, I need to figure out like a future vision of this, or like create kind of this North Star that's going to get the team really excited about what we want to go make, and that sometimes can be more creative and a little more expressive. And there's other times where it's like, okay, we've got this really big insight from either our data or from our user research, like, oh, people are really needing X, and we're like, okay, let's go figure out the best way we can help them accomplish that. So there's definitely I'd say all great design is still rooted in that, I'm trying to solve and accomplish a problem, help people accomplish something. Is always an underpinning of great design. But yeah, it's definitely a mix of both. There's times where you need to be really creative and like, oh, okay, I need to rethink this interaction paradigm of how this can be interacted with or behave, and make that clear to people. So there's situations like that, and there's situations, where you're really trying to understand kind of a practical problem that people are solving.
And is there any like one overseer who can just shut down a complete project or design, or is it really kind of like a democracy where everyone really sees the fault in a design and have to rework it in a certain way, or really just be like, you know what, this isn't working, it's time for us to move on to something else? Or is there like that one dude who's like, you didn't make so many checkpoints on this list here, so you didn't clear it, and it's gone?
I wouldn't say in my experience there's ever a lot of situations where there's that one person who can just be like, nope, not happening. Normally, if you're hitting that and it's a surprise, you've screwed up somewhere in your process. It should be pretty clear along the way to everyone involved, like this is, yes, we've got clear signal that this is something we should make or launch. Or like, we kind of need to go back to the drawing board on this and try to understand what the problem actually is that we're solving. So very, very rarely have I been in a situation where it's been like, yes, it is done, I am killing this.
Right. But on the opposite end, on the opposite end of that, how do you like stay away from design by committee? Because I know that's also a huge problem.
I think design by committee can be somewhat of a myth. It's a bit of a cliche that gets thrown around quite a bit. And I think great design is collaborative. I think designers historically have a tendency to want to protect their work and go, there's this myth of the lone designer genius who goes away and designs this incredible app in their bedroom or garage and then comes back and presents it to the world and everyone throws money at them. And I don't really buy into that. And I think great design should be collaborative. A good designer should be able to facilitate and like steer a design in the right direction. Whether that's saying like, I don't really agree with what you're saying, I'm not going to do that, or trying to create a group brainstorm, get some free ideas kind of out in the open is always a really powerful idea. So I don't really buy into the design by committee myth, I guess. It definitely can happen, but normally that's not necessarily a representation of people, but some kind of process failing. And good designers should be able to avoid, or at least be able to raise a flag when they see design getting watered down with bloat or with extra features or things that don't really aren't really necessary to solving the problem. But yeah, you definitely should have a great team that has good product sense in order to avoid that. I think everyone needs to be on the same page and have an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish, and that is often a major preventer of a design getting confusing or complicated or not really solving what you set out to do.
So what I'm getting from what you're saying is it's really good to be an expert designer and have all that skill and talent, but if you don't have the people skills there and the cohesion to actually socially connect with other people in the same field, you're kind of really left out in like this ether of being like a lone wolf, and you're not really taking the full power of the collaborative movement where like these huge tech companies, you have so many people there, like that brain power to just like have everyone connect up and like link in to create something really special is definitely the way to produce something.
Yeah, there's definitely a very open culture at Facebook, and so your work is often visible to lots and lots of people, and the more feedback you can get, the better your design is going to be. So that's not necessarily saying you have to act on all that feedback, but getting lots of different viewpoints and really being thorough and making sure your work's really intentional. Like, yes, did you actually mean to make that button blue, and why? And that's just going to make your design better. So opening up to feedback and having lots of different viewpoints and stress test the system or the design that you're working on is only going to make it better. So yeah, I really think that's a great point, that facilitation and people skill management is a huge part of design.
Yeah, it's almost like creating your own dynamic, which is like a self-sufficient momentum, where like the collaboration between all the people is just, it's almost like a biological feeling at some level where you're like, this is awesome, I'm really into it. Where like some companies are like, I freaking hate my job, I don't care about average Joe in cubicle C or anything like that. And I really like how it's not, I thought it would be more segregated and more compartmentalized when it came to like engineers and designers, and the fact that you can have that intermingling and mixing is like, there's some problems or things that other parties can solve, and you must take away some of that knowledge just by talking to them or expressing ideas with them, even because the different perspectives from where they come from must be very enlightening and open.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of it comes back to empathy as well, and having empathy for your teammates and the problems that they're up against, and the problems that you might be creating for them. And you don't need to understand how a full tech infrastructure works, but having empathy for their day to day can go a long way. Yeah, so I think it's important to make sure that you're understanding everyone's point of view on a problem or on a surface you're trying to tackle, and really going after that same goal together.
And with the collaboration, have you, on like just your own personal experience, like a designer who maybe wasn't really truly in love with design and kind of like secretly was picking up engineering aspects or coding aspects, and then just switched complete fields and became like a new coder, or just changed the whole dynamic shift because of what they viewed as like a collaboration of a company?
I don't know if collaboration has been I've ever seen collaboration be the spark for that. I've seen some people hop back and forth or transition roles between design and engineering, and some people that love both. Some really rare, less and less rare, I guess. Maybe a couple of years ago, it was a bit of a rare breed to see a designer and someone that had engineering from solid engineering chops as well. But now it's becoming much more common, which is really great to see. There's really great programs out there, and in Toronto there's like HackerU, there's Bitmaker, there's BrainStation now, doing really awesome, offering up really great classes to kind of help round out your skill set, and give you maybe a different point of view on something you've done previously. And there's things like General Assembly down here. Facebook's got a really great internal education and learning program as well, and I think most big tech companies do, to really help you kind of round out your skill set. Like I've been learning Swift and how to use Xcode over the past little while, which has been a really eye-opening experience, and definitely takes away a lot of the intimidation when you get someone, a really good teacher to walk you through either the design side of things and the design tool set and the user interviewing side, or the inverse, the coding and the engineering and the structural side of things.
How does that change your viewpoint on that? Like, now that you do understand maybe the lower level of the engineering or the coding, does it make you think differently about the design, or is it still taking that holistic approach?
I don't know if it makes it's just another tool in your tool set, right? Like it's great to be able to, like I said, like actually dip into a little bit of code to express an idea and maybe give you a little more granularity and control about how you do that, and be a little more thorough in how you're maybe prototyping something. So I'd say it's just like another tool to be able to use, not necessarily a whole other world. Well, it is a whole other world, but it's not changing my day-to-day design too much.
Has it ever made you hesitate in putting a design forward just because different point of views, and you're like, oh, this might be very hard for them to do, like given what I'm trying to express?
Yeah, and long before I was even at Facebook, that's something that you're always considering. It's like, okay, if I roll out really large photos in this design, what are the implications across the existing images we have or the existing data set that we have? Or if I want to make a full photo grid, when you tap on something, how's it going to affect performance? Is that going to make the app feel laggy? I think that's performance is obviously a huge one that as a designer you want to always be taking into account when you're on mobile or on the web, and having a good understanding of what affects performance from an engineering perspective can really help your designs feel a lot tighter and a lot more thought out.
I think it takes a certain type of people to get into product design. Someone who's very open and very I don't want to say liberal because that seems too political, but more like just open to more ideas and how things should flow, rather than looking at the status quo and just trying to like tweak on that.
No, it's challenging it for sure.
I wouldn't say it. I'll say it's nurture, not nature. Okay. It's definitely something that can be developed, and empathy and design thinking is definitely a muscle that gets developed, that you practice, and you develop an intuition about how people react to certain things, that you obviously always need to back up with hard proof or some kind of hard clear signal. But yeah, empathy and design problem solving is definitely a muscle you can practice and you can learn and you can train. It's not something that you walk into a room and like
just catch it.
Start sketching out brilliant ideas that are going to change the world. yeah, it's definitely something that can be learned and that can be developed, practiced over time, and be acquired.
So if someone wants to become a product designer, or someone who's looking into the space and they find interest in it, like where can they get started?
I try to point people towards the research side, or like the understanding people side when they're starting out as designers, and making something concrete and seeing how people react to it. So I try to recommend, like Design of Everything is a great read. Just Enough Research by Erica Hall is another great read. All of the Book Apart series, I don't know if you guys have seen those. They're really they're a good mix of kind of practical and kind of thematic reads to get you thinking about making digital things. And then the other advice I always give people is just start making something, even if it's horrible. Like even if you don't necessarily have the skill sets right away, just start making something. Practice. Do it over and over and over again. Design something as many times as you can is always something that I try to piece of advice I try to give people. And then supplement that with the skills after. So, you can learn Sketch, you can learn, InVision after that, but having a core understanding of people, having a core sense of empathy for people in their situation, being able to spot problems that people have or in your own life is another skill set that's just practiced and trained.
And be able to interact between those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, so I try to point people towards the research side of things and
The education side.
To really get a start. But yeah, there's a lot of really great resources out there on the
interwebs.
There's if you're wanting like the very practical hands-on skills, there's designcode.io, design plus code.io. I think.
Is that the Ming?
Yeah. Mingtao classes on Sketch and Xcode that are really great, kind of practical, hands-on approach to kind of picking up some of the day-to-day skill set after you've got an understanding of people. But yeah, watching people use what you make is incredibly educational and informative. Even if it's a side project or something you're working on kind of in your own free time, go out and find somebody who might use what you're making in the future and have them give you some honest feedback. Can go a long way to becoming a really solid product designer.
Yeah, just to gain more experiential knowledge and I guess in the long run, when you do try to maybe get hired or start working on your own thing, the more, I guess, different scenarios that you've come into, you'll have more tools in your back pocket to pull out to help you adapt to certain situations. Like, I don't know about you, how you must have a plethora of different tools and stuff that must have to be coming up and used, especially working at Facebook and stuff. Do you find that when you look at your colleagues and stuff, they all have very different tools and stuff that they can bring out and offer to the table? Or do a lot of them have a very similar upbringing towards
I'd say different skill sets maybe, but similar tools for the most part. There's some people that are really, really strong, systems thinkers in terms of developing, visual systems and like how something will be used and stretched in different kind of ways it can be used. Other people are really great, interaction designers that have a really strong sense of animation and kind of pop and press and feedback loops that they can create. So you see a variety of skill sets like that, but there's, for the most part, the tool sets at this, as many new tools as there are launching on a daily basis, it seems like there is kind of a core tool set of like Sketch, Framer, Origami, Xcode, starting to formalize.
So really, the individuality of the workers hired there is a big part, not just use, because all the tools seem to be similar. It's just how they use them.
Yeah.
And express them. That's good to see. I don't know. I have a very dark vision of tech companies and stuff, and we're just like, you must learn this, and then you just have like very small creative input, and it's very from the top down. But it was not like that. At least at Facebook, like that was very eye-opening.
Yeah, like I said, whatever tools you need to use to like communicate an idea, have at it is kind of most places that I've worked at been the approach. Obviously, there's like a network effect of like support around something maybe like Sketch, where if you're using Illustrator, maybe there's not as many designers using Illustrator, so it might be, there might not be as many resources available to you. That you might have to do a little more legwork and sink a little more time in. But yeah, there's for the most part, there's not too many places that are like you have to use Photoshop, or there. If I have been in those environments, it's simply because like there's a lot of other people, like the network effect, where like there's a lot of other people. So in order to like support them and be able to collaborate, you need to kind of pick a tool set and stick with it. But very rarely is it like, oh God, you have to use this one thing and one thing only forever and ever. It's most people around product work have a fairly open mindset when it comes to tools.
So then going before that, even, what are like some exercises that you could do to become a better designer that aren't specifically like with the tool sets, aren't specifically technical? Like what are some like just kind of mindsets, philosophies that you can kind of live by to become a better designer?
So one really great exercise I try to, or that one of my really great professors had us do was, on a rainy day, go sit somewhere and watch what people do. Just watch people walking by. See what kind of life hacks they have or they come up with in a stressful situation or in a different situation, a different environment. So, go look at someone's bike when it's raining outside. Do they have, some people have like a garbage bag tied over their bike seat? Is that a problem that you can solve? So I always try to encourage people to go watch people and find life hacks or problems that they have in their everyday life, and try to solve it. Like whether it's a screen-based design or whether it's like an industrial design or whatever, go people watching and see what little tricks they do in their day-to-day life to make their life easier, better, more enjoyable.
That's awesome. So basically you have them actively use their brain like to observe a certain situation and just try to think out like, oh, how could I make this better?
Mm-hmm.
or what problems arise in everyday life, because those problems that do get solved are the ones that like hit huge, like just simple things like to make life easier. Everyone loves it.
Yeah, and another great one that one of the other design directors at Heist gave to me. I think he got it from IDEO. I'm not sure. IDEO is another great design, one of the older design studios that's actually down here, that does really impactful work around industrial design, screen-based design. They do healthcare, automotive, all kinds of stuff. But they pioneered a lot of the design thinking, air quotes, design thinking methodology with David Kelly and actually the Kelly brothers. So the little trick that he gave me, a little exercise, was to keep a bugs list for your life. So write down all the little things in your day-to-day life that annoy you or bother you. So you've got kind of a hard record of small things that you could go out and try and find solutions to, whether that's playing music when you're in your car on your iPhone. Right, I have to tap around between all these little menus just to get the one like album I want to listen to. How could you go about solving that differently? Or what are some other ones? Transfers on public transit. I always lose them. I scrumple them up in my pocket, and they like TTC driver can't read it, or the transit driver can't read it when I go between stations. So keep like a little bugs list, or I guess a bugs list for your life.
Things that bug you. So it's like taking the Jerry Seinfeld approach, but then you just take on another. It is. It's exactly that. Absolutely. But then you just take another step further and solve
it. Yeah.
So instead of just telling people this is what bugs me, you try to solve it.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that's on your bugs list? What's on the top of your bugs list?
Ooh. I'll admit I haven't been writing down my bugs list.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Shame.
Shame. I don't know if I can come up with it off the top of my head. They always like that's why you're supposed to write them down, right? Is because they always happen in the moment and then you forget about them when you actually got to try to think about them. For sure. Yeah. So I don't know.
Anything off the top of your head that you kind of think of?
Let's move away from the bug list because you're getting a little. Putting them on the spot. We're putting you on blast.
I'm totally on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, actually, are there any apps that actually solve problems? Like any great user experience or like problem-solving apps that you're using right now? I mean, for us, Uber was huge.
Getting from point A to point B very seamlessly, and less stressful and cost effectively. Like, it's not pricey.
Yeah, there's a lot of which is awesome coming down here because there's a ton more apps that aren't available in Canada. But there's a lot of little like take a photo and post it for sale apps that you can use that are really interesting. There's like Gone is one of them, Depop. There's a few of them where you can essentially just like take a photo of something and put it up for sale, which I think is a really great problem to solve. It's something I definitely had when I was moving. I was like, oh man, I've got these books that I don't want to move. I'm sure somebody else would want them. I'd love it if I didn't have to go through the work of, writing a Craigslist post,
and typing it all in.
sorting through all the emails, coordinating meet up with them, then they don't show up. Versus just take
I see
a photo
Facebook groups, actually, buy, sell, trade Facebook groups, and it works out pretty well too. But I guess you can't really pay through it just yet.
Yeah.
But it's cash
Just
only.
yet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe. Oh.
There's there's also a couple apps that are for specific video games. This is super niche, but like
No, I have one.
Star Wars Battlefront's one of them.
Right.
There's a few different individual video games that start coming up with their own apps, and they've been Destiny does.
Yeah.
It's an okay
app. Yeah, one of the designers at Facebook actually tried to redesign it.
What?
Charlie Dietz.
Get him.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Redesign it.
You should do a little search for Destiny app redesign. He did. I think he has a Medium post on redesigning the Destiny app. But yeah, they do a really awesome job of just like giving you a push notification when your friends go online, which seems so stupid that like how has nobody done that before? Like I'm
so true.
doing a different activity, but I see like my two friends just logged on to play Star Wars. I should go
log on
and join them. Yeah, like it's kind of insane that like Sony and Microsoft haven't built that into their own native apps.
You have to set them yourself. They're called like
Maybe.
beacons and stuff. It's like, why aren't they always set in? Like they have
why is that not the default?
Yeah, as soon as I click he's my friend, I want to know everything he's doing on this medium. Like and it should be connected to my mobile phone as well, like already instantly.
It's always on you. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely the connectivity is not being breached that well for consoles and stuff like that, and user design is not seamless.
No.
There's always room for improvement, which is good.
Yeah, they've been getting a little better. I've seen like PlayStation seems to have been putting a little more effort into like the networking activity, the friend finders, and I think they've rolled out like PlayStation groups now.
They're trying, they're trying more things like that because they were getting made fun of, I guess, on the interwebs
For the social aspect.
The social aspect of it is just very disconnecting, and a lot of the games they have there are very indie, very like I'm playing by myself.
Yeah, single player.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people choose Xbox over them, just because it's way more of a social console, and a lot of the more games on there are like bigger social games. And now you see Facebook pushing for more like earlier contracts, like with Destiny and with the Star Wars Battlefront. They're getting like the DLC early. They're getting that early. They're trying to get groups together. And I think they're working on a bunch of apps for them as well. So they're definitely, user experience is definitely huge, and people are realizing that more. And I like that. I like that a lot more. It's less than like, here's our product, take it or leave it. Nothing's going to change.
Get the feedback loop now from actual customers. Yeah.
They're iterating.
Yeah, and they're iterating on it.
All right, it's been amazing having you here. Is there anything you'd want to plug or add or just put out to the world?
Anything you want to say?
Anything I want to plug? You can find me on Twitter at Nate Garvey, N the number 8 GARVIE. You can follow me on the IGs, same username. And I guess that's all I got to plug right now.
All right, awesome. Thanks a lot, Nate.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed this talk and want to check out more, go to our website at thinktankcast.com and subscribe with your email so we can send you all of the latest episodes, news, and updates right to your inbox.
Also, on our website, there will be show notes for this episode, some links to the things that we talked about, and more detailed information on our guests. If you want to see the video of this episode, it'll be on our YouTube channel, which is also linked on our website.
And if you want to keep in touch, we're on social media. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're at ThinkTankCast on pretty much everything, so you can find us on the web. And all of these details, again, will be linked to our website at thinktankcast.com. Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Amplified pattern recognition.
Why does the universe exist? We're about 5 Einsteins away from any answer.